The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Hello, I'm Brian Akers. Today I have with me certified financial planner practitioner, Alex Monk. He has been in the industry and working with me for 10 years now. He knows his stuff and he's highly qualified. You know all those good things I'm supposed to say about Alex. Alex, good morning.
10 years. Hey, I like that. Good morning.
10 years. Yeah. You were very young. You had this crop of hair back then, a bunch of things going on.
I believe it was a coif.
I don't know what that means, but no one listening really wants to know about that except for our show today, and that's this. This is Winning in Retirement, and things happen in our life and things are going on that we need to talk about. And the topic today is your interest in interest rates, because it greatly affects each and every decision. Your interest in interest rates is a very important thought that we all need to have. When the interest rate changes, does it make you happy or sad? If you are a saver, you welcome interest rates starting to rise. But if you're in debt, interest rate rising is going to be more and more money just going out for interest and not applying to your principal payment. What should you be doing right now to help your net worth, your cash flow, and your overall retirement planning? All right, Alex, we're going to talk about interest rates. Your interest in interest rates is our first quarter topic and the title for the whole show.
You know, interest rates, Brian, are something, as a kid, you never really think about.
You're not interested.
Right. And then you start to, okay, I want a car. I want to buy a house. I want to do all these things. And then you realize, well, I don't have enough money to buy it outright.
Right, so you got to go borrow from somebody.
You got to borrow.
And so you are interested in interest rates when you're borrowing the money because you're going to have to pay over and above the price of the car, the interest rate that they charge you.
Right, and that's a finance charge. And a lot of times, they're based on so many different things, right? So the big thing right now is the Fed fund rate. The Fed is raising rates, and everyone's panicking. But what does that actually mean to all these people?
I'm going to be a little sarcastic. They raised the Fed one time this year, and mortgage rates have almost doubled.
Right. They raised it 25 basis points, and mortgages have went from 2.5 to 5. 2.5
to 5, and then what's your bank paying you?
Zero.
Nothing. They're making sure you pay your fees, though, but the interest rates aren't there. They're spread for profit and makes bank stocks a very good thing to look at for profitability.
And, we have not been in a rising interest rate environment like this in the recent, history.
And this affects many, many things. That's why we want to do a whole show about it. So the very first thing is this. Understand what your concern is. Now, what side of the table are you? Is your interest in interest? What I mean by that is, hey, give me interest on my money. And if they can get that, that'd be incredible. Interest rates are starting to slowly go up on certain investments, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing in other investments.
All right, so let's go over some good scenarios, right? The bank interest or CDs.
Sure.
That's a good thing.
Interest rates should go up. I'm thinking maybe after 2 or 3 Fed rate increases that we might see the bank reflect some of that down. It's one of those things where we don't know, but there will be some bank who has money to lend out or doesn't have enough to lend out. They'll need to raise more funds for their bank, and they'll start raising the rates. It'll become more of a competition. Then they'll actually start posting CD rates on their door again. A few years ago, when we were doing this show, probably before we started this show, that's when we were doing the other show, I said they took the signs off the wall. Interest rates are going down to zero because they took the signs off. The signs are coming back. The exciting part of if they get up to 1%, you'll know your money will double in how many years, Alex?
I think it's like 32.
At 1%?
I don't know.
100 years.
100 years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Plus. I'm joking. I forgot the number. All right. So this is the first quarter is this. Your interest in interest rates. The first idea is this. Are you a saver? That means you don't have any debt. You don't have to worry about what you're paying out to other companies, your credit card. You pay it off every month. You don't have to worry about that interest rate going up. If you look on your credit card statement and you look at the small writing, it might have went up some.
Yeah.
And it's going to go up on your store cards and the higher interest cards. What you got to do is you got to start looking at these things and pay attention, because if you're paying higher and higher interest, you're losing your money.
Yeah, you're giving more money to other people, and that's their profit. And really, if you're retired, we don't want you to have debt. But if you do have debt, then we need to look at it right now and say, okay, do we have the best structure on our debt? Am I paying retail credit card rates and not have a mortgage? I can't tell you how many times I've seen that one.
Yeah.
And they're paying 25%. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, that comes down to, sorry, this is a long little sideways. I'm going on a pass. It's going to take me a little while here. All right. So what I hear is mortgage companies, they are not getting as many mortgage applications. People are not refinancing because rates are higher, and the refinance doesn't work mathematically. And so now the marketing is about refinance your debt, which some cases that makes sense. But my caution to anyone that refinances their credit card debt with their house is this: why are you in credit card debt? Are you short in your cash flow every month and you're financing your life through credit card debt? If you put that money into your mortgage and make the payments get lower, you're most likely going to start going right back into credit card debt again. Then you'll have both. And down the road, you'll be at a point where you cannot even pay any of the debt. And that's when you get in terrible financial shape. Not because it happened all at once, but because it was a habit of having a negative cash flow. And then you refinance it into your mortgage because you had a high value, you could squeeze them out of there, but you didn't fix the problem. And so one of the things with interest rate refinancing and consolidation loans, things like that, don't just consolidate to survive, consolidate to fix, to go from being a debtor to a saver, where you're saving every month, you have net positive cash flow, not negative cash flow. That's a fundamental thing we got to get across.
Anytime I tell someone that I'll help them get out of debt, I say, look, I'll help you do this once.
Yeah.
And you will cut the credit cards up here.
Yeah.
I got to see it because just like you said, it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah, I don't go with cut the credit cards up. I like to have one because you need you need credit cards out on the traveling world to survive. I believe they have to do the work. I can tell them and show them and calculate for them. I can't do the day-to-day work. One of the things we've done over the years is they get a little notepad, a spiral notebook. This is the old school way. And they wrote down everywhere money goes. And one of the most amazing things over a 3-month period is they realize how much money goes to convenience stores in the morning, how much you spend at lunch every day. And then we ask about what's your priority in life? What do you want to do with your life? Most of our financial long-term goals are not about getting that extra squirt into the coffee or getting something else that costs more money. There's no unlimited income. What happens is we all have a limited income to live within, and we need to learn how to handle that so we don't have the debt where the interest rate affects us. Because interest rate means higher payments. It's going to squeeze more paying for yesterday rather than saving and growing for your future. So your interest in interest rates has to begin with where you are now. Are you a saver? Are you a debtor? A debtor is someone who has debt that is more tied towards like credit cards, debts that's not assets secured. These are debts that are not backed up where you can get out of things quickly. What happens with mortgages and cars, these are more necessity debts. We have them in a budget. We like families that have maybe one car debt, not two, just so they have that budget. They can live within the means of all that.
Right. And some of those things, like back to what you're saying there, Brian, it makes a lot of sense. So some things are essential.
Absolutely.
Like a car. Most likely, if you live in Maryland and you're not in the city, you need a car to get to work.
If you're buying a pickup truck, you need $50,000 to $60,000 cash, or you're going to have payments for 5-7 years.
I
right?
mean, payments like mortgage payments these days.
Yeah.
Like if they do it over 3 years at 0%, it's like $1,500 a month. That's a huge number.
Absolutely. So saver versus debtor. Now the savers, when interest rates dropped from 5 to 3% and then just jumped off the table after that down to 0 and 0.5%, that the savers are upset because they used to live off the interest. Now the fundamental thing about savers is that if you have bank investments only, you're never going to keep up with inflation. Your interest that's paid on CD, you need to consider the concept. CD, certificate of deposit, actually means constantly depreciating. Wow. If you're a saver and you're going to live off that interest, you will never be able to live off that interest in retirement.
So you're saying that if inflation's 7 and the interest rate's 1, you're losing 6.
You lose 6, and that's just inflation. Then I tell you that 1 is taxable typically. And so you're taxable on it. So your net after-tax rate of return when you take the real rate of return, you lose on a constant basis. This happens in almost every environment. There are some short-term events where a 5-year loan will be a 5-year CD is better than inflation at the moment. We had a great run of inflation the last 20 years, so that was great for retirees because their bills didn't go up a lot. We are going to have to raise income for our retirees. The thing that affects interest rates and inflation and all this, one of the key ingredients is that most retirement plans now have very little inflation built into your pension.
Right, you mean like the cost of living?
The cost of living is capped at 3% simple interest. And what does that mean, Monk?
That's about half of 7.
Three is a little less than that. So 3% simple means the day you retire your pension, let's say it's $30,000, 3% is $900. It's not a percentage raise that compounds. It's a $900 raise max for your lifetime. And then what happens is 12, 15 years into retirement, you're in the hole. You cannot retire these days without having some savings on the side or to have such a great positive budget that you're saving even into your retirement years.
Yeah, and a lot of places don't even have pensions. So then it's on you. You have to save, and you got to know your budget, and you got to know, okay, what does this rise in interest rates mean for what I can do in my life?
Right. So we're just getting started here. There's so many topics tied to interest rates and how you think about it. Your interest in interest rates is important. If you think about it, interest rates, what should I do with my money? How do I make more interest? Now, when interest rates are very, very low, it's easier to put money in the stock market because that was the only chance to make money on your money.
You had to take the risk.
It was worth the risk. The difference between low risk and high yield, there was such a difference in that risk level bonds, risk level fixed income. What happens is you took the risk because the reward was so great.
Right. And if the reward's not there, you got to say, okay, why am I taking this risk?
Right. And so people will dial back their risk as interest rates get higher and higher. All right. We want this for you. We want the best part of retirement to be yours. And that's where you get your time back. You decide how to use it. Before retirement, your time is tied up with other commitments, mainly your job. A lot of that goes away in retirement. Your time is now consumed by things you want to do. It's so easy to begin winning in retirement. Go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. Scroll down to the meeting section and let us know you'd like to schedule your free consultation with one of our team of advisors. That's akersfinancialgroup.com. Or you can give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. We will call you back on Monday to schedule a free in-person or Zoom meeting. Go ahead to akersfinancialgroup.com or give us a call at 833-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Can talking about the inverted yield curve be fun? On this show it is. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that in the second quarter.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, certified financial planner practitioner, president and founder of Akers Financial Group. And here with me today is Alex Monk. Alex, good first quarter. You're getting ready to work hard here in the second quarter?
I'm really interested in this show, Brian.
You should be, because this show is your interest in interest rates. What sparks your interest? The exciting that they might pay you more, or the fact that you're worried that you might have to pay more? And so what we're trying to do is define that into a bunch of different topics. The second quarter topic is this: can talking about the inverted yield curve be fun? On this show, it is.
So most people are like, what is the inverted yield curve?
All I got to say, it's an important thing for you to know. We're doing this show for you. You can handle this. You're smart. This is not going to be overwhelming. We're going to do our best to explain the basics of inverted yield curve.
Okay, so let me just run through what it's supposed to look like, right?
All righty, start there.
So if we start with 1 month treasury bills and we go all the way out to 30 years.
All right.
So in theory, the shorter the term, the lower the interest rate because there's less risk involved. That's called duration.
Risk and time. There's the two things. You have basically what you can do with your money. You can take more risk or you can give more time. Those are two ways to make more money fundamentally. That's something that we've always talked about when it comes to investing people's money.
Absolutely. So there you go. Okay. Well, what if the shorter term rates are higher than the longer term rates?
All right.
That would be an inversion.
Right. So it's inverting, meaning the shorter term rate, like like right now, I believe that the 5-year rate on the Treasury is actually a little bit higher than the 10-year rate.
Yep, the 2s and the 5s are right around the 10 or a little higher, depending on where it trades that day.
So an inverted means that the opposite of normal thinking. So tie your money up longer, you get paid more. Right now, that's not happening. Now, the inverted yield curve usually leads to people predicting where rates are going, unless the inverted yield curve is bouncing up and down and not sure where it's going. So let's cover one concept of an inverted yield curve. So if short-term rates are higher than long-term rates, generally, what trend are we heading to? What do you think,
So
Alex?
typically that means that there's some problems coming up in the short term.
Okay, right.
Is what the market signals usually mean. Now, it's kind of strange because the Fed has injected a lot of liquidity into our bond market, meaning they'll go out and they'll buy treasuries or assets.
Yeah, let's explain a little bit about that. So when a government actually buys and invests in their own debt, that means they are artificially keeping the rates up by them buying it. It's almost like going to an auction. You're selling let's say you're selling your yard sale stuff, and then your kids are buying the other, like your daughter's buying your son's stuff. It's not really getting a lot of profit to your yard sale. It's the fact that you're buying your own thing, but you're trying to keep prices up.
Right.
So the Fed buying itself helps keep rates up because actually.
No, it keeps rates down because it keeps prices high.
See how confusing inverted yield curve is? Because the opposite's true with the interest rates. So when there's more demand, rates drop. When there's less demand, rates rise. If you have artificial demand, even if it's yourself, you can make the rates.
Right. You don't have to put something on clearance if you're not selling it. Essentially, You bought it from yourself. It's a wash.
So inverted yield curve is like a predictor of where long-term rates are heading. The weird thing is the 30-year is sitting out there about the same as 5 years. So no one really wants to put their money out that far unless it's a specialized client, specialized situation.
Right, but it's like, well, why would I get the same amount for 30 years as I would for 5? Because you could take the bet, okay, after 5 years, maybe I'll be able to buy a 30-year that's higher.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one because it's like, why is it happening?
Well, you wonder if it's predicting that rates are going to move up on the long term soon. They haven't yet, but they're heading that way. The reality that there's been a lot of talk about rates rising and about the Federal Reserve and all their comments. There's so much news and information out there. It's hard to weed through it, but generally the idea is they're talking about rates going up many times, but then in reality it's gone up a little bit once. They're going to raise rates a couple more times, and it's going to cause certain things. Interest rates on an inverted yield curve where the long term is underneath the shorter term, you're going to see rates typically start to rise in time. There is no definite time to this, but rates will rise. As Fed raises, rates should rise on the investment side.
And it's a weird correlation because nothing's one for one. Like we said earlier, they raised the rates 0.25, but a 30-year mortgage is doubled.
Yeah, from 2.5 to 5 is what we've seen from people.
And so part of the raising of rates is to do the opposite of what they do when they lower rates. They want to cool the economy down.
Yeah, slow it down.
So they're taking the cheap money out. So hopefully that combats inflation. But it's a fine line to walk.
Right. The reason we're bringing this up is that the economic talk, it might be noise to you. It might be things, what I don't care what that is. Inverted yield curve, I'll just change the channel when I hear that word. But the general idea is this. When you see interest rates where the short term is higher than long term, what you got to think about rates are probably going to go up long term. And then the topic of the show is this, your interest in interest rates. Well, if rates are going up long term, how does that affect you? As a saver, you don't want to go long right now in your investing because they're not giving you enough reward. So instead of buying something 10 and 15 years out, you buy 6, 7 years out. You don't commit your time. Like we said earlier, you can make your money basically two ways, more risk or more time. Right now, what we're telling you is that the more time isn't giving us the reward. It's in that medium term range, right?
And really that giving up time is a different type of risk. If you can't access your money, like you need to know, okay, when do I need this? What's my liquidity like?
Yeah, so that's purpose of your money. So when you have purpose for your money, Some of the examples we'll give you is this. Interest rates are low. The best investment to do is to pay off your debt.
Wow.
I've had this talk way too many times this year. They had money in the bank, and I said, how much you making? 0.10. I said, and it looks like you have a car loan and a credit card. What's the reason? I just didn't know if I should pay my car off or should pay the credit card off. And I said, can you do that tomorrow?
Right. Well, and so for some people, having that buffer level is a comforting thing. But once you go through and you know your numbers, and we sit down, we look at the plan and say, well, why do you need 3 years worth of cash?
Okay, we got to explain it this. In the last 2 years has not been normal in any way for any of us. So the COVID year, that 2020 year, people didn't spend their money. They saved it. Their savings, the money earning zero has built up and up and up, and it's still sitting there trying to figure out what's its purpose, what to do. In a rising interest rate environment, think about paying off your debt.
Absolutely.
Clean it up. It makes your cash flow basically only what you need to live off of and nobody else. You're not paying anybody else. And then you have this free cash and you realize, okay, now I can consider retiring. Because we get all the calls. You guys call from the radio show and you say, oh, I want to meet to talk about retirement. I'm 54 years old. Can I retire? If you come in and you have too much debt, we say, well, what are we going to do about this? If you come in with no debt, it's almost, let's go. Let's get you ready to retire. It's almost that simple.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, because then your monthly needs so low.
Yeah.
And then you don't have a big burden on your return, or you don't need to earn a lot of interest because you don't have debt and you're not paying someone else for use of their money.
Well, if you had $1 million at 1%, that's $10,000 a year. And if your car payment's $800, $900 a month, you barely get interest off $1 million to pay your car payment. So if you owe some money, you'd take it out of your money, and then you'd have all this extra money, and then you work on investing longer term because you don't need it for short term.
Yeah.
And then that's why the stock market investing has been a great thing, and it's really helped fuel the stock market. The extra cash in the market has helped. The growing and coming back out of the COVID shutdown is helping the growth. There's been a lot of free cash given by the government and incentives, and that helps the growth. Now with interest rates starting to go up, what's happening is they're trying to slow down growth so that we don't have super high inflation like the late 70s.
Yeah, and really it can price people out of their budget. And that's the big deal when interest rates rise. If you're already if you're month to month or paycheck to paycheck and costs double, you're done.
I mean, how can you afford something going up? Like everybody knows our food budget's going crazy, our homeowners insurance, those are just some basic, your gas bill every month. So where are you going to find more squeezing out of your budget? One thing is get rid of debt. If the debt's gone, there's extra money. There's all kinds of ways of getting out of debt, but if you do that, that'll free you up. You have to be committed with that. As you get refunds from taxes, you got to put this money towards the debt. Get rid of it so your cash flow is positive.
Yeah, and switch your mindset from a debtor to a saver.
Absolutely. So your interest in interest rates does affect the concept of an inverted yield curve. Inverted yield curve is just slightly happening at the moment. It's not extreme because we haven't seen the full true direction of where we headed and for how high rates will actually go. We'd love to think rates only go up a little bit and then sort of slow back down again and the economy get to keep percolating along. That'd be sort of nice for on the stock side.
Yeah, it would definitely be nice. But, eventually they're going to they're doing the right thing. It's just how do you execute?
Right. So as interest rates start to rise, if they go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, money is going to leave the stock market and head over. So one of the topics we're going to talk about later is the effect of the stock market on when you have interest rates rising and how money will come out because it's trying to seek where it can make return.
That risk-free rate of return is kind of the benchmark.
Yeah.
And if it's 0 and inflation's 6, that doesn't make sense. But if inflation's 3 and you're making 4, it's starting to look a little better.
All right. So the inverted yield curve, why is it fun for you, Alex? I'm sorry.
Why is it fun? Well, for me, it's I like to hear all the different people that are trying to use it as predictors.
Yeah.
They say, well, if you do the 2s to the 10s, it's right 72% of the time. So it's...
And they're trying to day trade it and trade the rate. And I would stay away from that. But I would use it to have fun with your purpose and your saving decisions where you say, well, rates are probably going to go up. A year from now, what am I going to wish I did last year? And my answer is this: let's get our cash flow freed up. Let's get buckled down. Basically, use that cash to pay off some debt.
Yeah, and the lower your rate on your debt, the easier it is to pay off your principal.
It is, and it comes quickly. When you add extra to your mortgage and it all goes to principal, and you're starting to pay that off very fast, it's a lot of fun. All right, Akers Financial Group, we are local, we're independent, and we don't report to a big company on Wall Street or a big company in Iowa. We report to you. We do have offices in Forest Hill and Lutherville, Maryland, but we do have clients all around the country and even around the world. It's so easy to begin winning in retirement by working with us. You can have a free consultation with one of our team of advisors. So go ahead and give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. We will call you back on Monday to schedule a Zoom or a phone call or an in-person meeting. Go ahead to AkersFinancialGroup.com or give us a call at 833-946-7384 to start planning for your retirement now. Interest rates are going to affect housing costs. What does that mean for your retirement? We'll talk about this in the second half.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
The announcer has welcomed you back, and I'm welcoming you back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and welcome to our radio show. This is the second half of the show. Here with me today is Alex Monk. How you doing there, Alex?
Brian, I love the second half.
You love the second half? Good.
Do.
All right, the second half reminds me of the national championship game. Now, don't cry while I'm talking about this, please, because I know your team didn't make it.
No, they did not.
But in the finals, there was Kansas, North Carolina. Kansas came out of the locker room aggressive, pressing, and hitting some shots. And North Carolina didn't have enough left after defeating that other team in that Durham area.
Is that really, I mean, just say it. They beat Duke.
They beat Duke.
We all saw
and
it.
Coach K, they beat them twice on big days. That's impressive. It might be worth more than a national championship to some North Carolina fans.
There's
just
a lot of happy North Carolina fans these days.
Yeah, but when someone beats you and they're happy, you got to understand they're respecting you when they do that. Yeah. All right, the reason I bring that up is this, Alex, are you bringing it the second half here? Is this going to be one of those full court press, really full of information? People got to be ready to handle this.
Oh, yeah, I'm the first day of the tournament in the second half. I'm ready.
Oh, ready.
Legs.
Okay, not the tip-off second half kind of guy?
Oh, yeah.
I was a night before excited guy. I couldn't stop thinking about it. When I was in high school basketball, I couldn't even think about school that day. It's just gets you going. All right, back to the real life thing, and that's this. Your interest in interest rates. Yes, it should be as exciting as basketball and sports to us because it is more important to our long-term life. Because we want to retire. We want to do things. We want to enjoy. We want to someday be able to afford an NCAA ticket, that kind of stuff. So what happens is this. Your interest in interest rates. The third quarter topic goes like this. Interest rates is going to affect housing costs. What does that mean for your retirement? So let's build on this. Let's start out with interest rates and housing costs. How does that affect it?
Okay, so if you're buying a house and you have to have a mortgage, your payment has gone up about $500 with rates doubling for the same price house. So that affects the affordability of the house for payment buyers, which most people, I would assume, are. Not many people pay cash outright for their first, second, third house. Some do.
Well, the second house, if it's a vacation home, there's some cash purchases there.
Yes.
There's the general move from the Northeast to the South, which has caused a lot of cash house purchases in southern states for retirement. But let's just call it people that are currently working. If you're going to get a new house or go from renting to buying, you're going to have a mortgage.
Yeah, and that mortgage is directly correlated to interest rates.
Absolutely.
So the higher your rate, the higher your payment, the less house you can afford. And that's a huge deal.
All right, so interest rates are going up, so I should not buy the house I'm looking at.
I knew you were going to ask me this one. Do you have a house? In this scenario,
let's say I'm young. let's say half my age. Back in the day. So back in the day, let's say I'm getting ready to go from renting to buy my first house, and interest rates moved up very quickly, and the house prices are still high. What am I to do?
Well, right now it's kind of in that weird area where the inventory of houses has not come up yet.
Inventory meaning what?
Meaning the number of houses for sale.
Okay, like signs on the road, like seeing, hey, there's a for sale sign.
Right.
They used to have those in real estate.
They used to sit out there for months.
They used to put the sign up. The real estate agent got paid the higher commission because they'd have to show the house 30, 40 times.
Now you can't even get it on the market without...
Boom.
It's gone.
In days.
Maybe even over list.
And people are offering above list in certain areas for certain style house, and that's still happening in many areas in America, not everywhere.
But it is starting to slow some things down with rates going up. So I think eventually the prices of houses will have to come down based on the demand.
Right. Supply and demand is as simple as it gets. If there's people out there buying, prices go up. If there's not, they go down.
There's people out there selling. There's too many sellers. Then they got to bring their prices down until they attract more buyers.
Interest rates go up. It's going to work the same way as supply and demand. Interest rates up, the demand for houses will generally come down here.
And that's why they're walking such a tight rope. But back to your original question, do you buy now?
Yeah.
Maybe. Is it the right house? Why are we buying it?
Yeah, that's the answer. Is why are you buying? Is this a short-term house and you just need someplace to live and you found a deal that's cheaper than renting the same equivalent home and you understand that in a short-term turnaround you might lose. You could lose 10, 20% in value if you're not going to be in that house long.
So I usually tell people 5 years. What's your rule of thumb?
My goodness. With the way things are right now, the rule of thumb is like gone to the wayside. It's all about their cash, their ability to absorb. Because imagine you put all your cash into your down payment, and then you think you're going to leave in 3 to 5 years. You might lose the entire down payment and have no cash to go to the next house.
Yeah, and that's assuming that you got the thing inspected and you don't need a roof or a septic tank or a
I was meeting with a 30-year-old client the other day, and she goes, I do not want to be upside down when I buy my house. And I said, well, after 2008, 2009, a lot of people were upside down in their house, but the younger generation did not experience that. Upside down means that you owe more than the house is worth. And that happened as the real estate market peaked in like 06, 07. 08, 09, the real estate market started to come down, and the valuations dropped 30, 40%.
Significantly.
Yeah, like 440 to 270 was my neighbor's house.
I mean, it's kind of scary because that happened after a long run up.
Long run up, yes.
Well, where are we at now?
In some houses, they're just back to the 07 peaks.
Yeah, especially like areas like, Florida has kind of broken out.
Yeah, Florida's broken out. I believe South Carolina, the housing developments around Maryland, most of them are still in that. They're not at 07 peaks yet.
It depends on it's crazy, and it's all different areas. Mm-hmm. So it's an important decision on why are you buying your house? Do you think it's going to be a flip, a get rich quick? Because if that's your scenario right now, I wish you well.
Yeah.
That scares me.
I would say good money, good cash would hold out to buy because you got to find opportunity. So imagine real estate. When I went to Virginia Tech, we had a real estate class. You sat in there and they asked the first question. The guy was real serious, and it's a bunch of sophomores, I think we were. And they're like, all right, what's the most important thing in real estate? And then we all talk, we give all these answers, and he goes, the answer is location. And then he talks 10 more minutes, and he goes, all right, the second point on real estate, and everybody's getting their notepad out, and he goes, location. Then he does third point, location, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Location. His talk on real estate had nothing to do with price point, interest rate, payment, all that. But life is different than just location. Because if you buy the right location, they're going to hold value. The hard part, if you pay too much for a great location, the time period you have to hold it might be a lot longer than you want.
And you got to be okay with, if you're going to spend that money, if this is your, as I call my house, my coffin house, my wife will sell it when I die.
Okay.
It's okay. Because the value doesn't matter. If it checks your boxes, right? It provides what you need for your family. It's affordable. That's what you need.
Yeah. But hard, how do I say this right? It's hard to make a lifetime decision on a piece of property when you're 25 to 30 years old, even 40, 45 years old. And for some people, even at 60, when they're getting ready to retire, they're like, all right, I want to stay in Maryland for a little while, and then I might go to another southern state, and then they go to a southern state and they go, I don't like that one, I'll go to a different one. So there's closing costs, and then there's the carrying costs of owning the loan. So very tough.
You got interest, and then you got property taxes. I mean, like there's costs involved.
Absolutely. There's costs of renting. You're going to have to pay money to live. So imagine that the answer is like math. The math is this. Where are you living now? What's the cost? And if you buy this house that you're looking at, what's the cost for that? Purely, what's the cost? And if the worst case scenario happens and you lost in 3 years, do you have a way around that to have a place to live if you had to move for a job or for any other reason? We don't know all those reasons in life, but if we spend all of our cash to buy this house to pay up for it, probably not the right thing to do.
No, you got to have that emergency fund.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. It's a math issue. So imagine if your 3-bedroom house, $2,600 a month, or a 3-bedroom condo, right? Isn't it you hear about one of your friends had that?
Yesterday.
Okay.
2-bedroom condo in the White Marsh area.
2,600.
2,600, not even 1,200 square feet.
So if you go shopping for houses and you use that budget, even at a higher interest rate, you might find a house that's...
I mean, that's like a $350,000, $400,000 house with a mortgage, 20% down.
Right.
At 5%, something like that.
Right. So it is the math. It's a math issue and about planning issue. It's planning. Think about life like this. If you're planning this out, building your savings, and you're ready... Even though we can tell you 1,000 reasons not to buy a house this year or to wait, it comes down to, well, mathematically, does it make sense for you to buy? Because it's an individual decision. Don't let anybody sway you that, oh, it's a wrong time to do anything, because it might be the only time for you to do it. And that's why you need planning and financial planning advice to decide.
Yeah, and you got to understand the impacts of the decisions that you're making, because they are big ones. A house is not like it's not like, a cup of coffee where you just pour it out and, whatever, I left it, I forgot where I put it.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. I mean, you're 10% in, 10% out, carrying costs. And then you got to move, which I don't know if anyone's done that recently. It's terrifying. I mean, going through all your stuff, it's not fun. So it's a big deal. You got to think this through.
It's terrible. You should see Alex's face when he says terrifying about moving. I felt the terror. That's a pretty amazing thing. The thing about the big decisions in life, and let's call housing a big decision. If you're trying to buy because you need to buy, that's one whole decision. The other thing about how does this affect retirement is that some people want to sell a house in retirement. The hardest part, though, is that we want to sell, but we got to live somewhere. And I hate to put it, you got to live somewhere, and where you're going to live, and how much is that going to cost. And the reality is sometimes downsizing right now, you end up with the same mortgage payment, the same house value. Right. You're not capturing the bump up or the extra cash you might be hoping for.
And that's the thing. Like, if you're trying to game the real estate market and live in someone's basement while you wait it out, good luck. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it would be. So. Yeah, I make jokes like that. Well, I should have sold in 2007 and then went to live with my parents. But that's not the best thing for financial advisors to do. All right, so our show today is called, I'm sorry, I almost drew a blank on the topic for today. It's called Your Interest in Interest Rates. This show is about your interest, applying it to you and what's going on in your life. And that's what we do about everything at Akers Financial Group. We want to apply financial planning to whatever your goals may be. So in retirement, we want your biggest worry to be where you're going to drink your morning cup of coffee, where every day seems like a Saturday free of stress. Your retirement income and investments are taken care of by a team of advisors at Akers Financial Group. If this is the future you want, it's not too late. It's so easy to begin winning in retirement. Meet with one of our team of advisors. A free meeting about you and your retirement. You can call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. We will call you on Monday to schedule your free Zoom or in-person meeting. Go to AkersFinancialGroup.com or give us a call, 833-946-7384, to start planning for your retirement now. Higher interest rates affect stocks, bonds, and other investments. How? Why? When? We'll explain in the fourth quarter.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
I'm Brian Akers, and here with me is Alex Monk. We are both certified financial planner practitioners, and we both work for Akers Financial Group, who is a sponsor of the show, Winning in Retirement. We do enjoy working with our clients all around Maryland and all around America now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's amazing. The technology has allowed us to basically be there. It feels like you're there with a client during a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, you're not quite there, but it's close.
Now, today's show has been called Your Interest in Interest Rates. And so throughout the show, we talked about the effects of interest rates on things. First, the thing about being a saver versus a debtor. We talked about the inverted yield curve, and we talked about the housing market and how it might affect you. Not every bit about each topic. We just hit some pieces of it.
There's a lot there. There is so much to go.
Oh, there is a lot there. But guess what? You can go back and hear this. You can go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. Go there and you can go to our radio tab. You can hear our shows right off of our website. You can do that. And we've had many of our listeners go back and listen. One of my favorite stories this week is a client came in and he goes, I just got done listening to all your radio podcasts for the last couple years. And I said,
what?
Wow, you're a bigger fan than my mom. That's awesome. He goes, and he had a whole list of notes he had from listening. He goes, I learned this. I learned what I need to look out for and watch out for. And he goes, how can I do Roth conversions? How can I do a Roth? Is 4% really the right payout? They were all incredible planning this, planning information, questions, just digging in for more information. And I was very happy that one of the sources was our radio show. So go ahead, check out our website. You'll see the sources we have on there, information that can help you reach your goals. Then you just got to give us a call and meet with one of our team of advisors so we can talk about your exact fingerprint, your financial fingerprint. And that makes you unique. And that's how you have to have a financial plan that's unique for you. All right, so let's get back into this final fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, that's winning time. That's where you got to stay healthy. You got to hit your free throws and call the proper timeouts.
I think a lot of people are waiting for this because they're all like, okay, what are these rates going to do to the stock market?
Absolutely. The question is, higher interest rates affect stocks, bonds, and other investments. How, why, and when? All right, so take whichever piece of that you want to start with.
You kind of hinted at it earlier, where you said once the rates get to a certain point, money will flow from one market to the other. So we're talking from the stock market to the bond market.
Absolutely.
And right now, interest rates have been rising, so the bond values have been going down.
Again, that's a big deal. It's this. If you own a bond fund, you're more apt to experience the following. You own like an average yield of 1-2% bond fund, and if it yields 3 to 4, will someone pay you fair value of your bonds, like what you paid for, or are they going to pay less?
Well, they have to pay less because the bonds have to be worth less than they were at their stated interest rate so that they can mark to market.
So what you need to write down in your notes or put it in wherever you're at, put something down. You say, do I own a bond fund? How is that going to lose as interest rates rise?
Yeah. And if you're using that as your safe money, and it's one of the biggest issues I see across, most first, second meetings is people come in and they say, well, here's my balance, right? Here's my asset allocation. Here's my risk off money.
Yep.
And then I say, well, why is it lost 8% this year?
Yeah.
Because that does not sound like risk off to me.
And what kind of 401k allocations are they?
Moderate.
Where they allocate by year?
Oh, that's a target date.
Oh, what's the target date? And target date investing is sort of a check the box investing. This is done in some 529 for college planning and for retirement planning, where they dial down the risk as you get closer to retirement, closer to college. And guess what they buy?
I believe their answer is bonds.
Bond funds, and that's going to be something you're going to buy where you know you're going to lose. Is that something you enjoy doing? I don't.
Absolutely not.
I'd rather go to the 529 plan and say, well, can I pick my own investments? I don't want to buy in bonds right now. So I want a target date a retirement plan. Not if I'm going to look at it once every year and reallocate. If I'm going to forget it and I don't understand what's going on, target date might be the right thing at the moment for you. But have an advisor help guide you how to invest and save for your future is extremely important.
Yeah, and my main goal is not to just beat people up over having the wrong allocation. It's to explain to them what they're trying to do and how their logic is not there.
Yeah.
Because you got to have safe money. Don't get me wrong. Like that's a big deal. But structuring your safe money to be actually safe has a huge impact on your risk.
All right. So that's pretty big. The protected money that's set aside to be safe needs to actually have the fundamental pieces and definition of being safe.
Yeah.
Bond funds do not do that. Individual bonds are a little different story. an actual bond, like let's say you own a bond, it's a 5-year bond. If you hold it till it matures, you get all of your money back. So that will change in value with interest rates up and down. And you could lose if you sell early, but if you own a bond to maturity, you will get your money back and not lose principal in the long run, but you will see it on your statements losing.
Yeah, it'll swing around like crazy. Yeah. And then that's the difference in the functionality between a bond fund and owning them individually. Now, if you're owning the fund, you have a lot more bonds in there, so you have less credit risk of one company, but you never get all your money back.
Yes, I'd rather have an actively traded bond fund than an index, so that you have a manager trying to manage that risk and might be able to make profit during this time.
Well, especially 2 years ago when there was illiquidity in the high yield debt market. There are bond managers that did very well during that time.
All right. So when we're talking about high interest rates and how it affects stocks, bonds, and other investments, your interest in interest rates is a big deal. If you're interested on the investment side, and interest rates start to go up, you're going to say, okay, well, 3-5%, I might start to buy some of that. Now, generally, in locking in rates, there's something called ladder investing, where you might buy a couple of years out to get a better yield. With the inverted yield curve, we're not really recommending you go too long because you don't want to lock in those long-term rates. You want to stay in that short to medium term if you're buying individual CDs or anything fixed like that.
But it also impacts, and you said just there, Brian, fixed. So if you have some type of an annuity and you're looking to turn it into a payment stream, you're locking in whatever current interest rates they're using to impute your income.
Yeah, for life.
For life.
Like a pension.
Like a pension. Exactly like a pension. Turns out most pensions these days are sold to insurance companies anyway.
Yeah, that's one way to get the liability off their books. All right, so there's so many things I want to talk about. Let's talk about the one. You said the word pension. It made me think about companies are getting rid of their pensions and they're offering payout or lump sum. And interest rates affect that decision also.
Absolutely.
How does that happen?
So there's a couple different ways, right? So like I said before, the interest rate they use for that payout option is typically low, or the market rate, Fed funds rate, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So you're locking in a low payment for life. But on the flip side of that, if that's where interest rates are, then the value of your cash number,
the lump sum
number has to be higher.
Right, so the pensions use a guideline from the federal government on interest rates, and the lower the interest rate, your lump sum's higher. That means right now in low interest rate environment, a lump sum option might pay more than the actual payout because of the way they do the calculation. As rates start to rise, every month there'll be a different lump sum value. You might see that lump sum offer go down if you wait for another year. So when there's a decision that will affect you, one of them is interest rates on a pension lump sum choice. Just another thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of companies, like you said, Brian, they're getting that risk off their books because that company's taking the risk for its employees.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that.
It's called a defined benefit plan, where you say, oh, you're going to get this amount of your pay for life. And then they say, this is your number. And then they have to invest it and make sure they fund it every year. And sometimes they can be overfunded and things look good, or they can be underfunded and then they have a little bit of trouble and they have to put a lot of money aside for that. Same thing about healthcare, are all important decisions that are affected by general accounting principles. All right, so I know that was way too much information for you out there, but the show today we meant for it to be some basic topics. Your interest and interest rates. We started with the idea of what is your interest? Are you in debt or are you a saver? If you're a saver right now, to find investments that'll pay you money, you have to be in stocks. The volatility of the stock market makes you nervous, makes you think about there might be a big correction or recession. There's all these words out there that are negative that might be opportunities to buy when the market does go down sometime in the next year or two.
Now, you can get online and find any reason to any side of an argument.
Oh, yeah?
You can find it. It will always be there. There will always be reasons to buy. There will always be reasons to sell. But none of those reasons matter if they don't apply to you.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Every time you sell a stock, do you know someone else is buying it?
I do, yeah.
I just want to make sure people realize that. You're not just selling it in the air. There's a seller and a buyer matched up.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah,
that means
zero-sum transaction.
You're like, oh, the stock's going down. They're over there going, this stock's going up. It's just things you got to think about. Oh, Mike, this show is going by so fast. There's so much to talk about when it comes to decisions in life and how interest rates and what you do with your money affects you. Your interest in interest rates should be, what am I paying? Am I spending too much money? That higher and higher interest rate is going to cost me dearly, and I can't save for my retirement. I'll never be able to retire because I'm too far in debt. If that's you, let's get it fixed now. If you're a saver and looking for opportunities to make more money with interest rates rising, absolutely you should talk about dollar cost averaging and buying and diversifying and getting ready to buy in throughout the next year or two.
It's one of my favorite topics because it really impacts everyone. Everybody. No matter what stage you are in life, it can have an impact on you just in different ways. So you got to know what's going on.
Decisions in your 20s, you might have to pay for them for 30 years. And you got to be careful with that.
Or longer.
Yeah, but one of the biggest deals when it comes to financial planning is building a plan that fits you and your situation, and it's built to help you throughout your life, to be wise and to make it work in the financial budget, make your cash flow positive, all of those key things.
Absolutely.
All right, Alex, so thanks very much for the show today. It's sure to go fast for me. Some people out there, like Brian's voice just puts me to sleep every Saturday.
I think it's interesting.
Well, this is an interesting show. Hopefully, you're not worried after hearing it. If you have any concerns or questions, of course, give us a call. We want you to understand that we love to be your financial advisor. Our team of advisors are ready, able, and willing to help you. Just give us a call. You can do that by calling us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. You can also go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com, scroll down to the schedule a meeting section, and what you'll do there is just put information, and that sends an email to us, and we contact you on Monday, where we can set up that free in-person meeting or Zoom meeting to talk with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. Go ahead to akersfinancialgroup.com or give us a call at 833-946-7384. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group is a registered representative offering securities through Kalos Capital Incorporated and investment advisory services through Kalos Management Incorporated. Akers Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Kalos Capital or Kalos Management and does not provide tax and legal services. Advice given on Winning in Retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment.